Hi, and welcome to the PreSales Podcast. It's your host, Chris Mabry. Today, we have an exciting announcement. I have the pleasure and the opportunity to announce the next general manager here at PreSales Collective, Jack Cochran. We talk about this new exciting chapter for PreSales Collective, how we're expanding with a new PSC board of directors, the excitement of hitting a milestone of 50,000 members, and the future of the community. What I love most about Jack, he's already deeply rooted in this thing. He has experience running communities, creating content like his podcast. He's a pre-sales leader. Most of us know him. He has a passion to drive the collective forward. We discuss my proudest moments here too, lessons learned along the past 17 months. My transition into the board of directors, I'll still be extremely involved in the community at large. This is really a story between two people, two humans, discussing our love and appreciation for this profession. Thrilled to see this organization continue to help people all over the world. So let's jump right in with Jack. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Jack Cochran, welcome to the PreSales Podcast.
Thanks, Chris. It's great to be here.
It's awesome to have you on this episode. I'm excited because today we're going to change the format a little bit. I'm going to cover the past 18 months expansion and experience here at PreSales Collective. What has it been like? What have we experienced? What have we learned? And I'm going to get into the new exciting leadership announcements and the expansion here within the collective as well. Let's first talk about data, growth, experience. I joined PreSales Collective full-time in July of 2023. At the time, we were at 29,996 members. Not that I'm counting, but fast forward to today, and we're over 50,000 members now.
I mean, you don't have the exact number there, but,
Yeah, exactly. We're 50,990 or something like that.
Just imagine the ticker keeping rolling through those numbers, right?
Yes. It is kind of wild how many people join a week. And I'll focus on something here too, which is when we passed the 50,000 member mark, I thought about building this big celebration for the community. And then I stopped myself because I thought, I'm less focused on the amount of members we have, and I'm more focused on engagement scores. And so I know we've grown a lot, but I think more importantly, we looked at every single thing we've done, every single type of activity or activation, if you want to call it that we do as a community. And we thought, how do we make it better? We rebuilt everything. We rebuilt the newsletter. We rebuilt the events, in person and virtual. We've hosted well over 100 events in the past 15, 16 months. We created a ton of new engagements. We removed some that were no longer working or valuable. Our job was essentially, let's double down on the things that work. We expanded partnership networks, community sponsorships and partnerships have really blossomed. The enablement programming and featured guest speakers as well have come in. On the enablement side, we went virtual with some sessions. We worked with Liz, Nina, and Winnie to design the new pre-sales enablement standard, the unlimited pre-sales focused program. We've rolled out a ton of change, and we've tried to rebuild the environment and the community in a great and positive way. Honestly, it's a job of a career and a lifetime for me. I still have people asking me if this is what I do full time, which is really an interesting question when you work 10 hours a day, 7 days a week on something, and people want to wonder if it's full time. But it's been an amazing privilege. PreSales Collective, we actually change people's lives and careers. And I know this organization changed mine in some hugely profound ways. And part of my process over the past 17 months has been literally asking myself on a regular basis, how do you make this thing live forever? I think at the surface, we're a community organization and there's tons of them out there for every profession. But deeper than that, we're actually affecting and helping people out. And it really means something to people. So I thought, how do we design expansion and scale in all areas? So on the expansion front, one thing we're doing is we're building a PreSales Collective board. We've never really had a steering committee that was solely focused on the community at large in a big way. We've had starts and stops to those. We're also designing a local chapter head program where we've identified, I think, about 12 different people who are just highly enthusiastic about helping us in those direct cities. And as for myself, I'll be shifting into one of these board member positions here at PreSales Collective. I still will, I think, forever be a part of this organization and community and still giving back to it as much as I can. Today, what we're focusing on is you, Jack. You're coming in as the new general manager here at PreSales Collective. I wanted to have this conversation with you so the community understands your why, who you are, where you're coming from. And, you don't really need introduction. You've been around the space for a long time. But I just wanted to officially welcome you as the next general manager here at PreSales Collective.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate that. I can't believe this conversation is happening. I remember us first kind of having a rough conversation, maybe it was a month and a half ago, something like that, just to this effect. And wheels just had started turning in my head about what this could mean and kind of where the community's at, where it can go. And I'm very excited to be sitting here with you and talking about it. And I'm excited to see where the community goes next.
And we're all excited to see what you can do with it too. In a lot of ways, you and I will be working together, and you'll be working with a really great board and just all the people who give back to this community anyway. We're excited to see where you're going to take it. When I reached out to you, Jack, you and I already knew each other from the profession, and I had listened to your podcasts and I had seen your events and I had seen what you had done with communities. I also saw how you lead pre-sales teams. You come from the community, but you're also a creator as well. And I know the next step in this organization needs that type of leader, somebody who's doing this already, somebody who has a really deep passion for enablement. So what I want to do is I just kind of want to ask you a few questions and get behind the why of your shift. So just go ahead and break that open for us. So why PreSales Collective?
In short, if you're listening to this, it's probably because you've personally experienced how amazing this community can be. I've been a part of the PreSales Collective since its early days in late 2020. I know you were an ambassador previously. I never kind of got into that role, but I was in a lot of Slack conversations. And the biggest piece for me was I started attending events and started, virtual webinar events and eventually in person, even things that were run not by the PreSales Collective directly, but other events, et cetera, and started just falling in love with the community at large and realizing kind of who I wanted to be in this space and the fact that I actually had a voice. I can actually think back to a specific thing that had happened. Someone in Slack had pulled together some pre-sales recommended reading book list. I should actually go back and try and find who it was so I can kind of give them a shout out for changing my career by posting a book list on Slack. This is how the community works. Like, you post something that you feel like is so small, you have no idea the impact it can have on somebody. I saw that book list, and on it were books I had already known, things like, Mastering Technical Sales was on there, Great Demo to Win, things I had already read through. But there were others, and I love reading. So I went to Amazon, picked up The 6 Habits of Highly Effective Sales Engineers by Chris White, who I have now multiple times chatted with Chris White. He's been on my podcast and would have grown a lot just through the conversation of getting to know him and the community around the 6 Habits things. I picked up Just Effing Demo by Rob Falcone. He was actually the first guest I ever had on my first pre-sales podcast. And then a book that I didn't know anything about was a book called The Social Sales Engineer by Patrick Missang. And if you don't know this book, which I didn't, it's all about creating your own voice and kind of putting your voice out there as your own professional brand and the impact that can have as someone as a solution consultant. I started doing some of those things and I started to realize, hey, I really enjoy this thing of helping other people get better at this craft that we have called pre-sales. And I actually had a chance to talk to Patrick as well about what I was doing when I was in the early stages of creating some content, and got great feedback from him and others as well. And it's been this just ride of realizing, one, I really enjoy doing this thing, building content, helping others as well. I feel like the PreSales Collective is this unique space where anyone who wants to can use it as a platform in order to do exactly that. I see kind of our next phase that we go into with the PSC being a lot of that, being more available for community members to find their voice and to learn from others as well. I would definitely not be sitting here had it not been for the numerous people I've met and connected with in the community and outside the community, but because of what this started in my overall life and my overall career.
It's that fundamental shift that I went through too, where you're like, wait, maybe I have an opinion. And maybe what I say is relevant, and like, maybe I can help people.
It's so weird because everyone you talk to, whether they're brand new or they've been for 20 years, they all have that point that I went through as well of going, well, no one wants to listen to what I have to say. It's like, well, try it. You never know.
It's not true.
It's absolutely not true. I mean, I have learned from people I have coached who are trying to break into pre-sales. That's helped me be better in the role I was in.
100%.
So it's like, whoever you are, whoever your voice is, that's the beauty of this community. It's over 50,000 members of people who, on purpose, joined a community to get better at what we do. Like just letting that sink in, the number of people, like fill a stadium in your mind of 50,000 people all deciding we want to get better at this together. I mean, why wouldn't I want to be here? It's an amazing opportunity for us to completely grow and everyone get better and find your voice wherever you're at.
That's an amazing visual. I've never thought about that. Like if you sat next to somebody in a stadium of 50,000 people and thought, hey, everybody here understands what I do. I mean, let alone, you walk into a family reunion.
When nobody in your immediate family understands what you do, that's an amazing thing.
I mean, try being somebody who runs a professional network about pre-sales. They have no idea what you do now.
Yeah. It's the constant. I ask my wife, okay, now that I'm doing this, going to be moving into this GM role, now do you understand? She's like, a little bit. So, yeah, okay, well, just tell people general manager and leave it there.
Let's open that up too, because general manager is a term that I think people who have studied business know very well. But some people are like, what does a general manager even do? Basically, what I say is it's like a baby CEO role. Like you still do kind of roll up to a board and a CEO, and you roll into a list of, obviously, a host of leaders that help. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for revenue. You're responsible for sales. You're responsible for marketing. You're responsible for product. You're responsible for running the organization. And I guess just to take a minute to give all of our listeners, like the weight of that and the weight of running PreSales Collective is immense. And it's something I have felt. I love that you're going into this all in, Jack, and you have so much experience being in communities, running communities, being a content creator, because the weight of running PreSales Collective is not light. But when you talk to me about like your video game stuff and other things you've done in your past, that's when the light bulb came on for me. And I thought, okay, Jack's going to be great at this. Break it down for everyone else. What have you done in the past that's going to really help you here?
As you said, I mean, I have this hobby of playing video games, right? And as a part of that, I started being a part of and building communities about and creating content in that space about 8 years ago. Some communities went really well. Some went really poorly. I had an online, not online, I had a local community as well that helped run for quite a while. And what all of that taught me is it's not as simple as you think it's going to be, but there's immense value there when everyone showing up understands why they're there and they find some value in it. So for me, the biggest learnings that I've taken out of all of that have been someone's not going to just join and keep showing up at the PreSales Collective just because lots of people are here. That number could be 200,000 and someone could join and be like, that's great. If there's nothing that they're getting out of it, one way or the other. And also, what one person wants is not what anybody else wants. You can't please everyone, but you do need to make sure you're not just building a community that's one you want to be a part of. You need to make sure you're considering what the members themselves are wanting to get out of it. Do people want a place where they can go and learn? Do they want a place where it's more about getting together with other people? Do they want a place where they can share something that they have found? Really understanding the needs of the community, which will shift over time as well, is really critical to keeping these communities running. I think that's one big piece. Also, another half of it too for me is that even my pre-sales experience is not very linear. How I got to pre-sales, and like many people, I kind of stumbled into the profession, right? It was not an on-purpose thing. I found out about pre-sales from my friend at my wife's birthday party. And he said, you should try this out. Let me send you a link to apply.
No way.
And I did, and I joined, and people were asking me when I was leaving my company before I joined my first pre-sales role, they were saying, so what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. I actually don't know what this job is, but it sounds interesting. But that breadth of experience between big companies, small companies, building teams from scratch, running teams, and then all the work that I had done on the business project side before I joined sales, I think will help me as well in this role. I'm not your typical salesperson, and I think that's what's going to make things run well in this role for me. At least I'm hoping so.
No, I think so too. And you made two great points I'm going to double down on for my experience here in the past year and a half, which is the needs of the community can change, and you have to be on top of that. PreSales Collective started during COVID, during the pandemic. And immediately following sort of the release of the happy hour series, the local networking series was so successful because people just wanted to get out of their house. They wanted to meet people that are like-minded. They've been working basically remote for 2 years or whatever it was. And we found that over time that that's not enough anymore. All of us can get out of the house. It's not even something we think about. So how do we structure it in a way that creates more? we've certainly tapped into this. You have to add learning aspect to it. I know personally, I have 2 young kids. I'm not going to get out of my house just simply to go to an event for a beer, right? So we've expanded and changed a lot of our processes. We also found that a lot of in-person stuff was just going to be okay virtual as well. Like people aren't going to drive that far to go to this thing. So we're shifting what the market needs. We're doing a lot of conversations, and we've had to really learn, what do the leaders want? What do people breaking into the space want, and create zones and spaces for those things?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to stop changing too, right? I think even with some of the new local things that you had mentioned before, maybe in a year from now, that's stopped working.
Totally. You just got to change. We're recording this kind of getting into 2025 at the moment. And it's, I think, the perfect time to make a shift. Luckily, due to our great enablement programs, all of our partnerships, we have a really great runway here at the organization. Something I'm very proud of, and something that I think will give us a long-term process here as an organization. So what is your vision? What are you bringing into next year? What's your, I would say, midterm, long-term vision for the org?
I guess before I talk about my vision, I'd say one thing to maybe put some fears at ease with people is that I don't want to come in and just change things. The PreSales Collective it's a well-known entity. I mean, you're listening to it right now because you think we're bringing some value. At least that's what I hope while you're listening to us. And belonging to the PreSales Collective has been something that everyone who I know who is in it, they talk about it happily. They put it in their LinkedIn profile for a reason. I don't want that to change. And so we've got top-notch things that happen with the community, with events, with webinars. The PreSales Academy is top of the class as well. But yeah, just because things are running well right now doesn't mean they're always going to. Things are actually going to definitely need to change. My vision is to try and take what's been built and figure out how we can make it a more accessible community for people who are joining, who are here. Some of the feedback I've gotten from people, just when I've asked around, how do you feel about PreSales Collective? Have you gotten involved there? Why or why haven't you? Sometimes people don't really know how they can get involved. They don't really know everything that's going on. They don't feel like there's a platform for them yet. And I think that's one big thing that really I want to see change. I want people to come in knowing how they can get involved. These are the people that you should connect with. Here's ways to start feeling a sense of community. If you have something to share, here's how you share it. Here's how you get involved at whatever level you want to get involved with, which is going to be different for everybody. So I think that's one big piece. I think there's going to be some change that's going to be happening around how we even view the craft of pre-sales. There's things such as like we're seeing the solutions organization banner becoming this new thing that's not going away. And I think it's the right move, bringing in post-sales and customer success managers under a solutions umbrella along with pre-sales, making it so that what you sell is the same as what gets implemented, but same with how we drive continual value for our customers. That consistency between those teams is something that we're going to need to address as a community as well, so that we're not seen as this archaic old way of doing things anymore, but we're along with what the right change that's happening. We can definitely learn from each other, and that's something that we need to do. The biggest change immediately that we're all seeing, you can get a webinar on AI every day of the week, right? The AI implications as Cs, there will be an impact, there will be a change. But what we're seeing right now, I think, is a good move. We're seeing AI encroaching upon the demo jockeying aspect of being a solutions consultant, which is interesting because 10 to 20 years ago, in that time frame, demoing was the most important skill that any SC could have. Discovery and demo, discovery, demo, or those two things. Now it's business value engineering. It's doing solution design. Technical relationship building and trust building have become the more important skill sets, to where the demo side of it, let's automate the heck out of it. Let's use AI to automate the heck out of that, because then we can focus on the things, especially in the new solutions org, that matter. So I think that we need to be changing as a community as well, and looking at and being aware of how the market is changing, how our roles are changing, and how to stay on top of that so that we're not left behind as well. And so that's a big part of what I think we as the PreSales Collective need to be there for these changing environments, making sure that people are aware of what's going on, have a place for it, have a spot they can learn about it, and are always upping their craft as well.
Just to add my 2 cents there, you're 100% spot on. So I have conversations with what we call the expert network, which we try to have like 5 conversations with pre-sales leaders a week. And this is exactly what I've heard. And I've heard some people basically say, hey, you guys focus on the demo a lot, but we're less focused on demoing now. We're way more focused on these other areas of influence. And so we've tried to adjust and make sure that our content meets the current need of the community, of the profession, and it meets all scales. So like, I think the solution org is a smart move for specific stage companies at specific sizes. But when I talk to people at Cisco, when I talk to people at Hitachi or SAP, they're like, yeah, that's cool if you're a mid-market company or if you're a startup. But that language doesn't even work with them. They're dealing with hardware. They're dealing with, like Cisco's like dealing with massive supply chain problems, right? And so like part of that challenge is to try to derive content to make it approachable for both sides of that industry.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. And I was just speaking very, very broadly as just industry things are changing. I think, though, the piece that we're all seeing, and it's almost a change in language. I heard someone say this pretty recently, is they needed to get the opportunity past the demo as fast as possible. I'd never heard that before.
Oh, wow.
But because it's always had been, we got to get someone to demo as fast as possible. We got to get them to demo. But then I heard someone say, we need to get past the demo as fast as possible, because starting to realize that once you're done showing what it looks like and you're done with that part, now we can talk about value. Now we can start talking about what this means for your organization. We can start helping them to unpack the change that needs to happen in their organization. That whole buyer enablement piece, if you've not checked out buyer enablement, definitely check out that concept of helping buyers know what they need to do to purchase in currently, right? We have focused very, very heavily, and a lot of resources, good resources out there can teach you how to demo, but it's getting beyond the demo. That is where a lot of our solution selling value is going to come from.
To that point on teaching, one thing I know you're passionate about is enabling pre-sales teams, working on the craft. What is your view on the state of pre-sales enablement as well? Where do you see that going? Where does it sit today? And what's your vision? Because, at PreSales Collective, we say it's one half of what we do, but we want people to learn from us at all times, even in the webinars.
Yeah, pre-sales enablement today is very much, if you think about how companies budget for pre-sales enablement, they usually enable one of two times. Normally it's someone new needs to get onboarded, right? And so we're going to spend some time teaching them how to demo. Is usually the majority of that onboarding time. And then there's if you're a more forward-thinking company, you may allow your people to go attend sessions or view webinars, et cetera. That tends to be it. The current SC enablement tends to end, quote unquote, for most companies once the SC knows how to do a demo. And so there's not a lot of thought put into kind of that ongoing. We do a lot of the ongoing for the broader sales organization, right? We'll get everyone on, a Challenger sale or Spin or Force or whatever system you use. But the SCs get taught how to demo, and maybe even the forward thinking, they've got a demo framework that they actually use within their company. That's great. And they teach them. But then that's kind of where it stops, which I believe is a huge disconnect, because we as SCs have always learned how to sell in a selling framework. But the demo framework is held cordoned off to the solutions consultant. And so the broader sales organization doesn't know. I think where we're moving, and I'm starting to see some adoption of this as well at companies who are kind of a little more forward about this, is bringing that SC enablement, that pre-sales enablement, to the broader sales organization so that account executives know how to work with their SC on when it's going through that technical sale, right? Getting up to a technical win. And so I think that's the direction that I see a lot of this enablement going, is expanding beyond just teaching SCs. It's teaching the broader sales organization how to get a technical win.
Oh, that's cool.
Which
I like that.
I'd love for it to be the AE along with the SC working on that technical win throughout the entire process. And I think, we're starting to see some companies starting to figure that out. And I think that's sort of the future of where enablement's going to go.
And I've also seen the role of pre-sales enablement individuals and leaders who are driving pre-sales enablement alongside sales enablement. What's your take on that? Do you see that picking up steam?
It's definitely picking up. I think the reason why it hasn't as much is because there's not been too many organizations who provide it. But we're starting to see a growth of more organizations like what we're doing with PreSales Academy, the unlimited things, a lot of the foundations coursework, now that's available and with other players in the market as well, the 6 Habits certification, for example, and a few others, it's becoming something from an external perspective that companies are getting a little bit of pressure on. And so we're seeing internally the same thing where it's like, oh, this is something that we need to take more seriously rather than just doing a once a quarter demo roundtable. Something like that.
Yeah, or just doing a one-time SKO push when everybody's just crammed with information. You go home or you go back to your office and I'm speaking from personal experience, you use those tools for about the next 2.5 weeks, and then you get back into your own rut and there's no follow-up on training there.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to go beyond that. It definitely needs to go beyond that. The nice thing is, I think a lot of what's happening here within the community, like anyone listening here, if you're wanting to get involved with things like that, that's a huge area of involvement because there's a lot of enablement programs that are currently being built. There's a lot of things that we're doing where you can either take the course yourself, you can reach out about content you've created as well, because it all goes into that overall enablement bucket, so to speak, where I think a lot of us as well, a lot of where we're going to go will come not just from things that we have individually curated from the PreSales Collective, but from the broader community as well.
That takes me back to something you mentioned earlier, which was clarifying how to get involved. And this has been kind of a pet project of mine too. It's a term I use, which is easy to do business with. We want to be easy to do business with. And you can replace that word business with easy to contribute to, or easy to be a part of, or easy to be a part of a community. And I still have people that reach out to me personally saying, hey, how do I get involved in PreSales Collective? And there's only so many of those I can respond back to. And we have a website with a link and we have a lot of different areas, but I don't think we've nailed really how to get involved very well. Like, I would love to see you clarify that. And to your point, like, you can come in super, super low and just attend an event. Just go to a virtual event, share your LinkedIn in the comments, make a couple of suggestions if you hear something that you like, or you can go all the way into volunteering like you did in the enablement programs. I think you volunteered in PSA. What type of stuff did you do?
So specifically with the PSA, I volunteered as a coach and a mentor. So a coach is helping with when the PreSales Academy cohorts are going through the demo practice, right? So running that part of it. The coach will go in, provide feedback on those, and they'll go and do another round. And it's a scored part of their curriculum. The mentor is more on the job search side. So once they get to the point of then starting their own search, reviewing their resume, reviewing their LinkedIn profile, checking out their network, seeing what their approach is to outreach and helping them refine that and supporting them through that process. So I've done both of those. I've also joined quite a few job pursuit panels. So more webinar based, kind of a group of us will talk about some different approaches, answering questions from the cohorts that they have specifically around different topics that are going on. So those are kind of the 3 main areas I've been heavily involved with over the past, I think, 1.5, 2 years almost at this point.
Nice. Yeah, the job pursuit officer. So Nina has brought me into those before. And oh man, it's just so much fun. It's hard to explain. And I think this is one challenge with community in general. If you haven't dipped your toe in the water yet, it's hard to explain how much you get back from it personally until you've done it. And I've learned more about my approach with just, I would say, community at large, where I've learned more about my profession, my craft, by actually giving into these things, because people ask you questions and they run you through your own challenges and you're thinking, gosh, I learned a lot by presenting today.
Yeah. The things that you've thought of that you not realized that they might need a revision until you say them out loud. And you're like, oh, that may be an outdated thought. Maybe I should reconsider that. Or even just being on the panel, listening to the other panelists talk as well. I often would find myself taking notes like during those sessions. So it's great ways to get involved. But Chris, kind of back to your point though, I, as recently as last week, got a question from someone who knew I was moving into this role. They said, oh, PreSales Collective. I need to get more involved with that. How do I get more involved? And I realized
all the time.
I don't have a great answer other than join the Slack, join some webinars. You could check out the Academy, but I know there's more, but it's hard to explain. And that's what I want to make it easier for anyone to not feel like it's hard to figure out where to get plugged in.
I know what you mean. That's a good takeaway. So I'll flip the script a little bit. I haven't had a chance to, I guess, share my experience that much. I do in our dinners and I do in person, and people say, how has this been going for you? And there's so much to unpack. I mean, I've been running hardcore full blast for 17 months. So you had a couple of questions you wanted to ask me, and then we'll head over to the lightning round, which is just more personal questions to you.
I guess I don't want to have you summarize everything, but if you could pick out something that was your favorite experience from the last year and a half, what was kind of your favorite moment or experience that you've had?
I'm fully unprepped to answer that. And there's so much. I would say if it was a one-time experience, it was going to a PreSales Collective dinner in New York. It was one of the first ones I ran as the general manager. And it was very challenging at the time to get these people into the room. Now we put up a dinner and we have a wait list every time. So it's not challenging, but we had to work really hard to remember or to remind our members that we were doing this. And it was when we were in the room and about an hour and a half goes by and I'm in a full room of people who I would happily work for any of these people. I mean, just amazing pre-sales leaders. And I remember just sitting back in my chair, looking around thinking, man, we did it. We did it. We're back. We were all talking about these really common but challenging and chunky pre-sales problems like career model frameworking and all of these different things. And I just remember just feeling just full of gratitude of just the accomplishment. I think in some ways I've really surprised myself with how well I was able to run this organization. Obviously, there's a lot more we can do, but the personal development has been unmatched. There's nothing I could have ever done that would match the amount of growth I've experienced.
I love that. I'm looking forward to some of those kind of events myself. I think the wealth of knowledge that the leaders that we have in the PreSales Collective are able to bring, especially when you get all of them in the room together. I know those will be some of my favorite. Like if you ask me a year and a half from now, it's probably very much the same.
And here's the thing about, this just goes to running PreSales Collective or being a part of it as an employee or a general manager, is that one of the things I'm most proud of here is the fact that I've been on this journey and you're going to take over the helm, and it's not a problem. And I think one thing that kills communities is if the community is tied to a person. You don't want somebody coming and going out of the community and making a huge disruption. So I love the fact that we have designed this in a way where you and I have been working on this for a long time. And I'm proud of the fact that this is going to live on and on and on. Like there's a legacy piece to it that I'm extremely proud of because PreSales Collective has changed my career. It's changed my life in general. The fact that it's going to continue on under your stewardship is amazing to me.
I definitely agree. Like, I don't want this to become the Jack show. That's not my desire at all. Like, I definitely value the PreSales Collective and know that I wanted to live beyond my time here, right? However long that ends up being.
That's right.
Yeah, no, we share an accord with that. Another question that I have, what has surprised you the most? What's the most unexpected thing about being the GM over the past year and a half? What surprised you the most?
I think the thing that has surprised me the most, and this is much more introspective than tactical, is I've just learned to trust myself. And I think the first time, if you're in an operator position where you're really having to make a lot of decisions on a daily basis, as a first-time operator, I didn't have the level of trust that I do now in my decision-making. And I had to basically get better at that extremely quickly. That was a surprising side of this. I came into this role loving pre-sales, loving the community, understanding how to run the content piece and all of this. But what surprised me is the level of trust I've been able to get within myself when it comes to making decisions. I didn't know that that would be a side effect of this role. It's greatly helped me in all areas, but that has been something I would have never expected.
I guess there's no really way to know how much you trust yourself until you have to suddenly do it.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll be probably in the same boat as well, if that's something that's going to have to grow pretty fast, right?
Yeah.
It's a different feeling when you are the one solely responsible for some things that are happening. I mean, the nice thing is with, I think, the board being formed, I'm going to have a lot of resources to lean into for a lot of these decisions as well, which I'm very excited about because it's not me going, I'm making this decision. I don't know if it's the right one, but we'll soon have this wealth of people who have far more experience in lots of different varieties of areas of the community to say, actually, no, that's not going to land because of X, Y, Z, or yes, we should absolutely do that, or maybe a few tweaks here or there. I think that's going to be amazing to have that support going forward.
The support is unbelievable. I never thought I would have so many people reaching out to me, supporting what we're doing and supporting what I was doing. I made mistakes. There were times where things I tried didn't work. And the challenge there of running the community is that it's very public.
Yeah.
And it happens to be the profession that you love, and it happens to be the profession that you're a part of. And so the mistakes are extremely public, but the wins are extremely public as well. I think the false sense of you're alone in making decisions, it can get to us, but the reality is the community's here. I have had so much support from people that I would just say are just friends now, and I never had that. So as a community, if you're a listener and you're a part of it, like, don't be afraid to reach out, connect with Jack, connect with myself, give feedback, talk about ways we can make it better, because it really is a collective effort.
And I will say too, those of you in my network who have been bugging me about my next step and who I've told, wait until Monday, the 18th. This is the reason why. I wanted you all to find out about it together. But please do. Yes, please absolutely reach out to me, because I mean, I have the ability to set up one-on-one times with everybody, but I definitely enjoy the connections and the feedback and everything.
Yeah, wonderful. It's an exciting chapter. I think that your background has prepared you more than anybody I could ever think of. You've already been in the space for so long, so I'm really thrilled. We'll switch over to the lightning round. I'll ask you a few personal questions. We'll wrap it up. It's been an exciting conversation. I know there's many more that we'll have on this. So
let's do the lightning round.
My first question is around biggest pet peeves. What's your biggest pet peeve in SE demos?
Oh, SE demo pet peeves. That has to be when I hear the phrase, please feel free to interrupt me when someone starts their presentation. I suppose presentations or demos together, that statement just drives me crazy. The reason why, if you've not heard me talk about this, it's because you are putting your customer in the seat of driving their engagement in the meeting. One, it makes them uncomfortable. And two, people don't like to interrupt. And three, you're signing off your most important role, which is driving engagement in the meeting. So don't do that. Don't say that.
Dude, that's a book right there. I think
I've done a webinar on that topic. So
okay.
Yeah.
We should do it again. There's another one that needs to be had. What drives you more than money?
Change. I'm one of those weird people that actually enjoys change. When I had to commute for a job, I would always try and take a different route to work every day just to change it up. But no, seriously, I like being at an area helping to drive necessary change within organizations. That's why I've always gravitated towards startups or where I can help to build something out that needs to happen. That's definitely more motivating to me than money is.
Yeah, I could say I'm right there with you on that. What's your favorite movie?
Can I give you more than one? Can I cheat on that a little bit?
You're the new general manager, so I'll let it slide.
Okay, because I can never give one because it definitely depends on my mood. One that I really like is Edgar Wright's Shaun of the Dead. Actually, any Edgar Wright movie will be up there. I just love his cinematography, the way he tells stories through his movies that isn't just dialogue. I absolutely love that. The Empire Strikes Back. I'm a huge original Star Wars fan, and that one is kind of the epitome of what I feel like Star Wars is to be. The third one's kind of obscure. This has probably been on in my house more than any other movie, is 1985 movie called Clue, based on the board game. It's got Tim Curry, Madeline Kahn, Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future, which also is probably fourth on my list, if I can add four. But fantastic cast. It's one of the best movies out there. That's like this hidden gem that almost nobody knows about for some reason. But yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that movie up. I remember seeing Clue on daytime television or something like a long time ago, and I loved it. It's so campy. There's like the mystery sides and the surprises and the doors that shut on their own and stuff, but it's actually really good.
It's well done. Particularly for me, I enjoy movies that aren't just a series of back and forth dialogue. And that movie has enough staging and that's not just two people talking at each other.
Yeah.
So, but it's also so much fun. It's a guilty pleasure. I could watch that any day.
Yeah. You do a lot of content so people know you, but what's something that most people don't know about you?
We've already talked about the video game thing. That's some people, but I would say the other piece, I have mild aphantasia, which is, if people aren't familiar with aphantasia, that's where you can't picture things in your mind. I can picture things in my mind, but I can't picture color. So the only reason why I remember like that my wife has brown hair and blue eyes is because I told myself she has brown hair and blue eyes. It's all grayscale in my mind. So,
whoa, that's amazing. I've never heard of that before. So when you think of the movie Clue, it's just grayscale.
Yeah. If you told me Clue was black and white, I'd believe you. Though I don't think so it is. Cool. I think that's a black and white movie. 85 and shooting makes pictures in color.
That's awesome. Oh, I didn't know that about you. So that's a good one. Look, you're going to be in front of the community at large for a long time. It's going to be very easy to get a hold of you. But I think what's important is what channels you like. So what's the best way? What are the best channels for people to communicate with you, whether they're congratulating you on the new role or have any questions?
honestly, the easiest is, as much as a lot of people don't like Slack, I love using Slack. So hop into PreSales Collective Slack and DM me. That's going to be probably the easiest way, especially because then we can have a conversation there pretty easily. But LinkedIn DMs also work really well for me. If you send me an email, I'm an async email person, so I might not see that for a while, but definitely LinkedIn and the PreSales Collective Slack is going to be the best way.
I'm so excited about this, Jack. Congratulations. I know that you're going to make some really great, significant change, and I know you're going to keep all the stuff that works. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining the PreSales Podcast. And until next time, when you're running it, take care.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.
Thank you for tuning into the PreSales Podcast. I couldn't be more excited about Jack's approach to the community. His comments on making it easier to get involved at any level, his passion for connecting across all the mediums. I think his thoughts on the future of the profession and enablement are spot on. PreSales Collective is set to live on well beyond any single person or leader. So this is the moment to dig in. Welcome Jack to this next phase. Attend the events, learn how to use PreSales Collective as a platform for you and your personal growth. Thank you so much for everything you've given me. It's been the absolute pleasure and highlight of my career. I've met literally hundreds of people. I've been on tons of adventures. I could not have done this without you. That is why this community is so special. I'm excited to be back in the PreSales Collective podcast as a guest in the future, but for now, I'm signing off for the last time as the PreSales Collective General Manager. Thank you so much. Take care.